So yesterday I finally watched Rogue Elements, the short movie, like 40-minute long movie, whatever it is, of the critical drinker. He calls it a proof of concept, so it's more like a 40-minute TV show episode, you could say, and it's self-produced. So he did everything himself, funded it via a crowdfunding campaign, and I really like it when people go out there and do their own thing and they try to create something instead of just being critical about what's being out there. And it was certainly a risk. So the guy is pretty famous on YouTube. As far as I know, more than 2 million subscribers. So he's a very big YouTuber, maybe the biggest in the sphere of critiquing pop culture. And therefore creating something himself and putting it out there was certainly a big risk. And when you look at the comments, the risk didn't really pay out. Lots of people are giving him the critique that he usually posts out there for Hollywood movies. He's now receiving back. And even though the likes are okay, the comments aren't. So it's almost exclusively negative stuff. And I wanted to give my 2 cents here. So number one is, I think that it's not that bad. The comments are really negative and I don't see it. It's certainly not a great Hollywood kind of quality movie, but for a first try I think it's good. Some effects are well done, even though you can see that it's VFX, so it's in a post-production edit, some explosions, stuff like that. But it's a convincing job. I like the color grading, that was well done, and the cinematography even has its moments. So the overall style, the aesthetics is something that I enjoy. And I think they also did a great job at shooting the action. Shooting action convincingly is always hard to do because you have to have actors who have some martial arts skills preferably and know how to use guns and knives and stuff like that. And the team has done a good job, especially for an indie production, at doing that. The music is also okay, but the problem is that the music is totally overused. But if you just listen to the clips isolated, the score in isolation, it's certainly okay. And it fits the style of the episode. The pacing was pretty good for a 40-minute short movie. Once again, I don't know really what it is now. Is it a TV show episode? Is it a movie? But for the runtime of 40 minutes, it was well paced and there was not really a long stretch scene that was boring. So it very quickly moved forward. But there are obviously some flaws. The biggest flaw, or one of the biggest flaws for me, was that the music was way too overused. So even though it was a good score, they just plastered it onto every single scene and that was way too much for me. I didn't like it. And even when you create good music, it's always a good idea to not overuse it. Less is sometimes more. And I think there wasn't a single scene where they didn't add this typical dramatic thriller-like music. Interestingly, the story had a girl boss character, and that's something that the drinker always criticized in Hollywood movies. So it was an interesting decision to add such a girl. She even had a bigger fight scene with a guy who was way bigger, had way broader shoulders than her. So again, that was an interesting choice. The main lead wasn't really mine, and I can't put my finger on it why that is. Maybe he is a good actor, but I don't think that he fit this role. So in this action thriller kind of genre, he came across as doing a little bit too much overacting, but that's just my taste. Maybe other people would disagree. And his accent. I'm a foreigner, so maybe that's just my ear, but for me it sounded more like an Australian accent and the character was supposed to be British. So that's another thing that I didn't really like about the guy. The critique is on a way different level. So if someone else would have put out this video, most people would have agreed that it's okay for an independently funded, independently made movie, and especially a first try. As far as I know, the drinker hasn't done movies before. And if you put that into consideration, this first try is really a good one. It's not Hollywood quality, so it's not a Hollywood action movie, but it's definitely close to direct-to-DVD quality, and that's a great foundation to start with when this is your first try at movie making. You can build from there, so I wouldn't want to call it this absolute buzz that everyone in the comment section is calling it. And when I thought about why that is, why is everyone so critical of it, I believe that it's because the drinker does his critiques usually, he's famous for that, and when you go very hard at these Hollywood movies, where then people expect you to deliver top-notch quality when you bring something out yourself, and when you then only have this direct-to-DVD quality, people are going to reflect all of the critique that you've given out there onto you, and they're picking the entire thing apart. As I've said, even I was wondering, why is this girl boss character there? Isn't that something that the drinker always criticizes? So it's kind of like a boomerang that comes back at you when you're a critic. A second point of critique that I've always read in the comments was that it's unoriginal, generic, the typical Hollywood action drivel that's being put out there in masses. And I totally get that. It's nothing special. So it's not a story that we haven't seen before. It's not a character that's novel. But again, it's a first try. So you have to give the guy a little bit of playroom to deal with and to learn from. And from a creator perspective, when you do your own thing, you want to start, or at least you think it's better to start with something that people are familiar with, because it's a safer road. But as he progresses and as he learns, if he wants to continue to make movies, this should get better and he should have more confidence, maybe that's the right word, to try new things and to go then down a different road, be more innovative. And one more thing that jumped to my eye was the movie. So Rogue Elements has around 400k views now after 6 months. So 6 months ago he published it. And if you look at his critique videos, only a week ago he posted his critique of the latest Mission Impossible movie, and his critique has more than 1 million views. And this shows you what his audience wants to see. So the drinker has gathered around an audience that primarily wants him to shred Hollywood movies, and they don't really want him, or at least half of them, don't want him to create his own thing. Instead, they're just there to see and to listen to how he pokes fun at the latest Hollywood movies and shows. That's just part of YouTube. You make your videos, and depending on what kind of videos these are, you're gonna attract a specific audience. And when you now create something different, which in this case the drinker tried, this audience may not fit it. So he has basically produced a direct-to-video first try of a movie for an audience that just wants to shred movies and that just wants to poke fun at movies. So obviously that's the kind of comments that he's now getting for Rogue Elements. To conclude, I hope that he continues to make movies and that he learns from this, and if he starts another crowdfunding campaign, I'm pretty sure he can get enough funding to make a second one, and then over time he's gonna get better. So it's a good foundation to start with. And that's all I gotta say. Go away now.